Greetings and welcome to the next review in our 2020 Cohiba video review series. Today I'm going to look at the Cohiba Robustos. It doesn't look that big anymore in relation to larger ring gauge cigars that have come out in the last 10 years, I suppose. When I look at it now, it just seems like very much run-of-the-mill size, even though it's 50 ring gauge. I can tell you the cold draw on this. It's just been simply stupendous. Just some nice cedar and baking spice notes on it, together with a barnyard. I can't wait to light it up. In today's review, I'm going to look at the Robusto size itself. How did it come to be so prevalent and grow in stature? I'm going to look at the Cohiba Robusto release. When did it come out? The reputation of Cohiba Robustos, and lastly the flavours that you get from this. So I'm going to, I guess, just pause the video there, and I'll come back on. I've lit up the cigar. Lovely flavours straight off the bat. Just the usual, that refined grass and hay a little bit, but more diminished. A hint of milk coffee or mocha coffee. Buttered cream, honey. Fantastic. Spice, plumes of smoke. What more could you want? Look, the Cohiba Robustos. Where do I start? Let's start at Robustos in general. They once weren't that very popular amongst Habano cigars. The great Simon Chase, I remember him in a poignant video interview now, because Nick Wing was interviewing him, and it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and since that time they've sadly both passed on. And in that interview, Simon recounts an anecdote where he mentioned that the Partagas Series D number 4 in the mid-80s, I think in 1985, sold a total of 5,000 boxes worldwide. So that's how popular that size was, the larger ring gauge size was in the 80s. Unheard of. Now it's come full circle, and it's the widely held consensus, or we don't have official data, but the widely held consensus is that the Partagas Series D number 4 is in fact the biggest selling cigar in the world, and that's a Robusto size like this Cohiba Robustos, and that's overtaken the Monte Cristo number 4, and you'd have to think the Monte Cristo number 2 is up there too. So how did the Robustos go from 5,000 box sold in the mid-80s to the Partagas D4 being the biggest selling today? It's been an interesting journey. If you think about it, Robustos, the size itself in the 60s and 70s, it was just considered a very large cigar. Not large like double Coronas, not large and long, which are always been considered large cigars also because they're 49 ring gauge and they're well over 7 inches long. But this is 50 ring gauge by just under 5 inches. What I need to tell you is the quintessential size before, going back to the 60s and 70s, was in fact not the petite Corona. Every marker had a Corona size. Every marker. I'm talking 42 ring gauge by 142 millimeters. Off the top of my head, that's 5 3/5 inch. 5 3/5 inch long. Now we've only got 2 Coronas left: the Monte Cristo number 3 and the Cedrox Deluxe, the Romeo y Julieta Cedrox Deluxe number 2, in regular production. All the rest have been deleted from the Vanos catalog. So back then, what we had was the Hoya de Monterey Epicure number 2, the Bolivar Prince Charles, and the Bolivar Royal Corona. Now, the Prince Charles, I think, was discontinued or became part of the Royal Corona since they were the same size in, I think, the mid-70s. And in 1975, we saw the release of the Partagas Serie D number 4 and the Ramon Awana Specially Selected. Now, one caveat I need to tell you about the Ramon Awana Specially Selected. There's records that it was made in 1975 as a Robusto 50 ring gauge by 124 millimeters. There's also records that it was made in the 60s with a different Vitola dimension, something akin more to 48 ring gauge, something more akin to a Hermosus number 4, like what you get in the St. Louis Ray Regios or a Romeo Julieta exhibition number 4. Not quite a Robustos, but close. And the discrepancy in this may be explained in the different markets where we get this information. So we have records of Simon Chase telling us in the 60s, according to Hannes and Frankau, having records of Royal Awana Specially Selected at a different Vitola, at a different ring gauge to the Robusto side. And I think we have MRN recounting. I think Alex has. He's told me. Alex has told me that MRN has confirmed at some point that the Romano Juanis was different Vitola to what it was from Simon Chase's records. And the case may be that both of what those fine gentlemen were saying is true. They had different Romano Juanis for different markets. It's not unheard of to have different cigars for different markets, different dimensions at that time. Anyway, those 4 cigars were about the only Robustos around until, Robustos grew in popularity in the early 2000s. There were some more Robustos releases. I think the Juan Lopez Selection number 2 was released in the 90s, and this Cohiba Robustos was released in the Linea Classica line in 1989. So, it took a while to come out. But I have to say that since the time that it's come out, it's really grown in being a staple of the Cohiba line. It sells. Cohiba Robusto sells. It really, really does. And we know that because in the last few years we've had the hiatus with products such as the Bahiki line and the Cohiba Siglo 6, but we've still seen Robustos come out, so it's still being made. This Robusto today is a MUO May 2014, so it's just short of 6 years. And I've had some interesting experiences with Robustos. I was just looking on my Cuban Cigar website inventory. I just can't believe that I've smoked 18. Well, I thought initially that I'd smoked 18 in the last 3.5 years, but I've actually given 6 away. And of the 12 that I've smoked, there's been a number of box codes. Some have been Christmas samplers, some have been gifted to me. So they've been all varied. And on Cuban Cigar website, you can rate your cigars out of 5. And I've given those 12 cigars. I've given 4 of them 3, 6 of them 4, and 2 of them 5. The average mark, if you do the mathematics, I think it adds up to about 46 out of 60, or 3.83 out of 5 if you do the maths. So it's what I equate to in my mind. That's like the Monte Cristo number 4. of the Cohiba line. I mean, that's exactly how I view it. The Cohiba Robustos. It's those two cigars that I rated 5 in the last 3.5 years. They were just incredibly wondrous. I think they were full of buttered cream. One must have been 2010, and one must have been one that I smoked while I was waiting to catch up with Alex Groom, the proprietor of Cuban Cigar website in Sydney, in the Central Business District. I still remember that cigar clearly. That was what we Australians term a cracker. The other 6 that I did as 4 were, wonderful, dependable, and the other ones that I did as 3 might have been, a bit strong on the coffee notes, or a bit, might have had slight construction issues. And when I think of Montecristo number 4, I'm going through a few boxes at the moment, and they're just the most wondrous cigars. They're the very best cigars that I have in my humidor, and I can't tell you how many times I've had my Montecristo 4s and amongst the very worst that I've had in my humidor. I wouldn't quite equate the Cohiba Robustos in the same way. They're not the very best and not the very worst. They're a lot more consistent than that. But when they're very good, oh my gosh, they're very good. As I'm smoking down on this cigar, I am picking up more notes at this stage of the mocha coffee in it. The butter and the a touch of spice, a touch of honey, a little bit of citrus. It's got wonderful complex flavors. It's really, really good cigar. Now, I haven't smoked this cigar in the last 3.5 years, and I can't remember how I picked it up, if I picked it up in a box or a quarter pack or a half pack. I just can't remember. All I know is I think I've got about 3 or 4 left upstairs. But I have another box of Cohiba Robustos cigars that are resting. So what I'm going to do at this point in the review, I'm going to leave it there and come back in the middle third and give you some more thoughts on how the cigar is going. So I'm just coming into the middle third, and before I smoke that down, I just wanted to just give you some more information about the idea of the quintessential Habano cigar. I did mention early in the review that the Coronas was thought of as the quintessential Habano cigar, and I'm talking about 60s, 70s, 80s. That trend changed. It moved towards the Petite Corona, hence why I'd say the Montecristo number 4 is so popular. It's a 42 ring gauge by 129 millimeter cigar. It's almost 3/5 of an inch shorter, about around the 5-inch mark in length. Now, in the early 2000s, when Altitas went 50-50 into business with Habanos SA, they looked at the cigars that were selling and that weren't selling, and they really made quite a few changes, deleted quite a few poor sellers, I guess, kept some traditional ones, I guess, for a while. Ones that were popular might not still be selling. So, for example, I mean, the Sancho Panza Non Plus only got deleted in 2019, and that's never been a seller. In that time, the Petite Corona started to give way, and more Petite Coronas were getting discontinued. And I guess the word I'm looking for in that process of streamlining the business to make it profitable, the Robusto size became, and as more larger ring gauge cigars started to be introduced, the Robusto size started to become, 2010s onwards, the quintessential size. But we're starting to see a trend now, maybe perhaps in the last 5 years. Petite Robustos were only first brought out as regular production cigars, and I'm thinking of the Hoya de Monterrey, Petite Robusto, and the Montecristo Petite Mundo, and they're 2004, 2006 respectively that they came out. They've only started to be thought of as the the quintessential cigar size, well, according to Banos, they're saying if you look at the amount of Petit Robustos that are around, maybe in the last 5 years. So we've gone from a Robusto cigar that's 50 ring gauge by 124 to a Robusto cigar that they tend to be those Petit Robustos 50 ring gauge, but they go down to 4 inches or 102 millimeters right up to 115, 120 millimeters, which is third of an inch short of 5 inches. So they have a bit of variance, but that's thought of as a quintessential cigar. So what it teaches us is that cigar trends change. As I was smoking this down into the middle third, what I can tell you is the Linea Classica cigars, in general, they're more richer than the Siglo, the Linea 1492 line. They have a different blend about them. Let's put it that way. To me, they always strike up more of a mocha coffee or a milk coffee note in them. You tend to find more spice in them. They give a more of a butter texture. It's just a generalisation, but I find that rings true for me. The Linea 1492 tend to get creamy as they age. The more of the refined grass hay comes to the fore, you're more possibly likely to find vanilla bean more in it. You can still get them in the Linea Classica cigars, but you're more likely to get the vanilla bean in the Linea 1492. Just my opinion, but this is more of those mocha coffee flavors. That is coming more to the fore now, more to the foreground of my palate. Touch of spice, a touch of honey sweetness in the citrus, and I'm talking about lemon citrus, not a sweet orange citrus. Good through the nose. Not overly spicy, but I'll retro one more time. It's nice and refined through the nose, really enjoyable. When you can do that in the middle third of the cigar, it's you're doing great. You can tell that I'm enjoying that. In comparison to the Pyramides Extra, which is another Linea Classica cigar, it's definitely milder than that, but it's definitely stronger than the 2006 Siglo 3 and Siglo 4 that I had. Even the Pyramides Reserve from 2003. I guess they're older, and this is only 6 years old, but I mean, if I was to compare the 2015 Siglo 6 that I did in this video review series, this will be slightly more richer on the palate, touch stronger. But as per usual, the ash is great. There's slight coning. The rings are consistent. The construction on these cigars have been great. Every one that I've had so far. I guess one thing I can tell you that I wanted to say was in terms of the richness on the palate, after I had the Cohiba 1966 limited edition and the Cohiba Robustos Supremos limited edition from 2011 and 2014 respectively, those cigars were so rich on the palate through their chocolate notes and their spice, and the combination of the refined hay in them. Great quality cigars, but I just felt that with today's review, I needed to return to, just a stock standard regular production cigar. I guess give myself, the chance to, get a feel for, the more of the flavors that are more common in a regular production cigar that aren't as rich on the palate. Because look, I've got to admit to you, after smoking those cigars, the mouthfeel lingered for quite a bit of time. Definitely with the type of cigars that you can have on occasion. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. I've been really enjoying the cigar, like I'm enjoying all the cigars in this video review series, and I'm going to come back into the final third and give you my concluding thoughts. I'm down into the final third, and I really, really enjoyed this cigar. I'm at a loss for words to eloquently tell you how much I've been enjoying it. So just trust me, I suppose. But just the construction, the ash, the way it's been smoking has been perfect. It's a wonderful autumn's day here where I'm smoking in Sydney. It's just, these are the type of cigars you have. Sadly, I don't have as much as I would like. And Cohiba being a premium market with the price point that it is, and that has a lot to do with it, I suppose. And that's not just me, it's cigar enthusiasts in general. Although if you're the type that has Cohiba and Trinidad all the time, good luck to you. If you enjoy the best of the best, that's fantastic. But I can tell you an anecdote where I caught up with Trevor Leask, founder of Cuban Cigar website, a few years ago, and I think I did bring this cigar. At that stage, it was only 2 years old, and to smoke. And I think we did a side-by-side review because he brought out a 2006 Cohiba Robusto. I brought out a 2014, and we both quite easily agreed that the 2006 was better. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because this has legs to go. I mean, I think I've got 3 or 4 sticks upstairs. I could leave them for another 5 years before I get the next one. Probably won't, but the next one might be another year or 2 away. But it's only going to build up in that butter texture, and they're only going to get better. And they're only going to get better according to what I prefer. According to what you prefer may be completely different. You may like them young, and kudos to you. If you like them young, smoke them young, I say. Everyone's different. It's getting to the point where I'm going to have to take off that big band G. So I did say in previous review that band G was put on all Cohiba cigars in mid-2014, and this is a May 2014 box. So there would have been Cohiba Robustos that would have had the standard band D, the old one from 2003, the old embossed one. But around that time, the hologrammatic band Gs were starting to put on, and this box got that band. Still wondrous to retrohale into the last third. The hallmarks of a really, really good cigar. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I really look forward to closing off this series soon and coming back with the next review soon. Until then, happy smoking.